Your strategies with your teen are not working. And here's why. So I'm Ivan. I've been an occupational therapist for about 20 years. And I am as guilty as you are of trying strategies on my teens to help them to get better, to help other families improve. And the problem is that I was teaching parent strategies. I was working with these teens on strategies, but I didn't address the real concern. I didn't look at the reason behind. And this is when I moved into parent coaching. And this is when I really started seeing changes in families and true growth inside the home. And not just strategies that worked for a day, worked for a week, worked for a month, and then suddenly they grow out of them. And you're thinking, wait a minute, how come I went to therapy and things were going well and now they're not? True growth comes from inside and has to start with the parent. Everything is different now, and I want to explain something to you from the world of psychology called Maslow's hierarchy of need. If you have ran across this, you're going to be familiar with what I'm talking about, but I'm going to dive a little deeper and help you understand connections between Maslow's hierarchy of needs and parenting skills. And this is fantastic. Once you understand where you are at on this pyramid and how that relates to your parenting, and then how that relates to your teen, because the truth of it is you cannot lift higher than where you are at. You cannot lift somebody else higher than where you already are. So if you want your teens to grow, you have to be higher on this pyramid that I'm going to explain to you. Now, there's 5 different levels on it, and the base allows support for the one above it, all the way to the very, very tip top. And we're going to get to the top, but I want to start down at the base. The base is physiological needs, which maybe some of you understand, maybe some of you don't. Let me explain. These are basic needs: eating, sleeping, shelter over your roof, water. These are things that if you do not have, you cannot survive. People in the world live at this level, and they cannot lift others because they need to help themselves first. If you're on an airplane and the airplane's flying, and before they even take off, they give you the safety spiel and say, in the case of an emergency, we're going to have oxygen masks drop down from the ceiling. Put on your own oxygen mask first before you try to help your neighbor, because and they don't say it quite this bluntly, because if you don't, you will die, and then you both die. You have to take care of your own physiological needs first. Breathe yourself, and then you are in a position to help others breathe. The second level up from that is safety. So not only do you need to have food, water, shelter, but to progress and become more than you are, you need to feel a sense of safety. Again, there's people in the world who have that base level, but it is not safe where they are at. These 2 bottom levels are very external oriented. It all has to do with the environment, where you're at, how the environment is interacting with you. And if you are living here, you cannot lift your teen above that. Now, let me give you a real life example, somebody that I've worked with in the past. Their teen is a huge kid, is 17 years old, big, tall. And he had the idea that in order for him to feel good about himself, he needed to dominate. So he needed to physically stop his brothers or sisters from doing things that he did not agree with, that he thought were incorrect. And so there was a lot of fighting, and there was a lot of arguing in the home. And he could not see that in order for him to really be an example in his home, he needed to let go of that physicality. Parents who are authoritarian, you do this or I am going to come down hard, live in this realm. Parents who have to rely on spanking or other physical means of punishment rather than consequences live in this realm primarily because they are working from a safety. They have to do things so that they feel secure in their position based on their environment. And if they don't, their world falls apart. They don't have the upper levels of this, okay? Now, say that you're doing well. Say that you can overcome that physical nature and say, yes, I have food. Yes, I have shelter. You know what? I can be more. I can let go of the fact that I need to be in charge and in a physical way. I don't need to yell. I don't need to use physical punishment in any form. And I can move to the next one. Now, I'm saying these in a stark way. There generally is more blending. You will have a varying sort of these, but in general, we are moving up the pyramid, and that is what I want you to do in your parenting. The next level up is loving and belonging. This is your ability to start thinking out of yourself. All of these next three are external oriented. It's about other people and how you interact and how they interact with you that you perceive. If you truly feel that you belong somewhere, you have a group, it's your family, it's your church group, it's a theater group, it's a community, it's your gym membership, it's whatever it is that you feel like you have somewhere where you fit in, that helps bump you up in that level. If you are able to express love, if you are able to have friendships that you can communicate to and rely on and express ideas to, if you are in a position where you can experience intimacy, and this is an interesting one because intimacy, most people think about in a physical sense, which actually comes down and ties into the very bottom of the pyramid, those physiological needs. One of them is reproduction, being able to pass on your genes. That in the animal kingdom all the time. It is a driven need to do. But that's different than intimacy. Intimacy has to do more with emotions and connection to somebody. And yes, in a relationship, that can be physical. In fact, it should be physical in an intimate, close, emotional relationship of safe and belonging. But intimacy has to do with emotions and connected. So you can be intimate with your child by getting to know them, being on their level, knowing their thoughts, knowing how to express yourself to them and do it in a healthy way. And that allows them to rise up in this pyramid and to not only have safety in home, they have clothes, they have a shelter, good. They have food, good. Do they feel like they belong? Do they feel like there is people that they can express thoughts to? Intimate, deep, emotional connection to their parent. And if you do not have that in your life, you are going to have a really hard time lifting your teen because you're not there. You cannot lift higher than where you are at. The next level up is self-esteem. If you have intimate relationships with others, if you are able to express yourself, if you are able to be truly who you are, that allows you to fall into this esteem category, to raise up, to think better of yourself, to recognize your own good. And this has another really good story to it. There's a mom that I'm working with, it's in my program. And I asked her, I said, hey, do you truly believe? Can you look at yourself in the mirror and give yourself true compliments and recognize the good in you? She can recognize good things that she does, which is a step. Hey, I have children, and I have children who have done great things. They're growing up, and yes, they have problems, but I can see the good in them. I'm learning that. But to look at yourself in the mirror and say, wow, Ivan, you woodwork, and no, you're not perfect at woodworking, but look at what you do. It's really cool. You make earrings, you make necklaces, you make bowls, you make nativity sets, you make, it's not big stuff, it's small stuff, but Ivan, you've got some talent. Or, hey, Ivan, you can get up on a stage and you love musical theater and you love entertaining crowds. Hey, that's fantastic. Can you do that to yourself? What are your good qualities that you can look at in the mirror and recognize as truth for what they are? This is different than bragging. And this is different than being humble, because this is where I see parents get into a challenge in processing what I'm trying to talk about. You can accept you for who you are and feel good about yourself and be humble. And that's different than bragging. You can recognize you're good. You don't have to say that you are better than somebody else. That's bragging, and that pulls you back down the pyramid. But when you recognize the good that you have, then you recognize the good in others. Part of this is recognizing gratitude, and part of this is recognizing the good that is all around you. And the more that you do that, the easier it becomes. And the more that you see, and you can start to see that in your children. And as you do, your children raise up. But you have to be able to see it yourself. Otherwise, you cannot lift above where you are at. The very top level is self-actualization. And like I said before, this isn't a very firm, I'm moving up, oh, here, I'm at the top, and now I'm permanently at the top. No. This varies in where you're at in the situation, and maybe the day, and maybe it's your mood, and maybe it's the whatever it is. We go through cycles in our life, not even just by nature of seasons. Our life is in cycles, and so this pyramid is always in flux. But if you can reach that self-actualization and become more than yourself, to really become outward facing, feel secure in yourself, know the good that you have, and know that you can help others raise up in that pyramid, this is where true parenting happens. It's thinking outside yourself. It is feeling secure about yourself. Now, in summary, I want you to think about this pyramid. I want you to think about the fact that if you are living on the bottom, you will not be able to raise up your teens. If you're at the top, you are going to be able to raise up your teens. Be it with ADHD, be it with whatever. But let's focus on ADHD. Your teen is struggling. They process information in a different way. But as you raise yourself up in this pyramid, you are going to be able to help them. How does this tie back to the start? Strategies are there to try to pull somebody up, but it's an external thing. It's a third step thing. The first step is to recognize inside yourself, to calm your own emotions, to calm your mindset, and to clear the path for step number 2, which is to then move outward. Did you notice the similarities between this and Maslow's hierarchy of needs? First, you need to have a stable base, and then you begin to move outwards, inward facing, physical nature. Now I need to understand how my brain processes information so that I can recognize when I am becoming overwhelmed by my environment, so I can clear the pathway so that I can see forward and I can start moving up the pyramid and making greater changes to recognize my own good, to then be able to lift others and recognize how to lift and belong and love and be greater than myself. The third step is the strategies. Because once you have those first 2 pieces in place, the game changes completely. Then the strategies are produced from inside you, and you do not rely on others, on therapists, to give you strategy after strategy, because your ability increases. Yes, you might still gather ideas, but you apply them in a much different way because you are already up the pyramid. This is what parent coaching does. This is the benefit of using a parent coach who is an occupational therapist who has focused in this area to understand the psychology behind what we do. Occupation is what we do that's meaningful. And when we can raise up the pyramid, then we can raise our teens. This is my challenge to you. If you want to raise up the pyramid, if you are willing to put in the work, if you are willing to sacrifice the resources that are needed to truly become something more, to grow in ways that even if you just have a small desire right now, you don't need to know the pathway. You just need to have a desire to get there. I will show you the pathway. I will lift you up. I will teach you how to raise up in this pyramid. That is what Parent Coaching with Ivan is truly about. Comment. Let me know where you're at. Reach out to me. Let's connect. I want to find out, and I want to see how I can raise you up. And know that I believe in you. I know that everybody can make gains and grow, and your life can be filled with peace and happiness and love and success.